I want to talk to you about my new favourite thing, the National Archives. Now stop. I know you're about to click off the video because you think this is going to be about dusty documents, but it's not. It's amazing, trust me. So I recently strayed onto the National Archives website because GCHQ, which is kind of like the British equivalent of like the CIA, released some photos of the Colossus computer during the 50s, 60s. So if you don't know what the Colossus computer is, it's the first ever digital electronic computer. Pretty big deal, and it was invented during wartime to break codes, secret codes and messages. And during the Cold War, they kept a couple proper secret and literally put them in the basement to crack Soviet codes. And this is the first time ever that we've been able to actually see those machines as they were at that time. Until now it was super secret, but they've released the photos into the National Archives. If you want to find out more about that Colossus computer, then I'll put a link at the end of this one to the video that I made about it. Now the second reason why I've been on the National Archives lately is because my friend told me that her granddad used to be a bomb aimer on a Lancaster during the war. I know, I'm interested in the Second World War. Quite honestly, why wouldn't you be? There's literally a case study for anything you could find interesting. Economics, culture, it's all there. Incredible. Not many occasions in human history where the entire world has been affected by something. So if you're not interested in the Second World War, it's not just about boys, toys and guns and tanks. Well, that's pretty cool, I know, but anyway, I'm getting off track. What we found was absolutely incredible. You can go back, if you know the squadron or the service number of a relative of yours, you can go and search in the National Archive and find likely a record of what they did. So we knew what squadron he flew in, and you can go through the operations record book and see a record of every single sortie that he flew, every single mission, and there were some amazing stories. So the last one that he did, which was in a long string of dramatic missions, one of the engines conked out. So they were like, well, we got to go out to sea to dump all these bombs. We got some serious bombs on board, right? One of them was what they call a cookie. Another nickname for it was a blockbuster, because it's literally big enough to bust a block. 4,000 pounds worth of bomb. Here's a picture of some engineers sitting on one. Yeah, this is a big boy. And they went out to sea to jettison this, and it hung up. That means that the mechanism didn't work, it didn't release. So they knew they had to land with it. At that point, another engine conks out, and these operations record books are actually quite notorious for being understated. So it's quite possible that the engines were on fire. Anyway, so there was an emergency landing strip at Friston. They needed to land immediately. They couldn't see anything, it was dark. They landed, overshot the runway, crashed into a mound. The cookie burst out of the fuselage, their undercarriage collapsed, and in the morning, when it was light, they realised that they were 30 feet from the edge of a cliff. Wow! And all of that was in the operations record book, typewritten in the National Archive, just laying there, forgotten. This story, incredible. There's another section of the operations record book where the squadron leader writes a summary for all of the crews of what happened on that day. And if you look at the day after VE Day, it tells you all about the celebrations that happened at the evening before. So the squadron went down the local pub, had a great time, celebrated the end of war in Europe, and the landlady rung the bell and said, "All right lads, it's time to close up." So a bloke went around, unscrewed all of the door hinges, put the doors in the garden, went back to the bar and said, "Sorry love, you got no doors, you can't close up." And that was just in the official RAF records. And that's the great thing about the National Archives, is you can go there and view the original documents and hear things from the horse's mouth, from the contemporary people who were there. And, with obvious caveats, you get in close to the truth of what happened. You're not just reading something from a book from someone else's research and regurgitating it. You're actually going to the primary resource and seeing the real deal. Sometimes if you go to Kew, you can hold the documents in your hand. I've got big respect for a lot of the historians who seem to spend a lot of their lives in these kind of archives, digging through crates, trying to find gems of information. I referenced Leslie Skinner, who was attached to the Sherwood Rangers Yeomanry in a previous video about that pump organ, and in the book about them, James Holland actually went to the archives and found photo reconnaissance pictures of D-Day and looked at the angle of the sun to work out the time and could see the tanks and their progress, and you match that up against the regimental diary to see how accurate it is. I mean, that's amazing work. It's incredible that you have these resources available to you. And, you know, we should be really grateful for that. In some countries, the archives are much more restricted, and, you know, there's a lot of great people who are putting in freedom of information requests all the time to try and get more information in the public domain. But, you know, we should be really thankful that this is a resource that's available to us. Funny enough, today when I was thinking about making this video, I was actually on the tube and there was an advert for an exhibition at the National Archives. I'm definitely gonna go to that. A big switch has been turned on in my head that, you know, I can go and do my own research. I can go and find the truth about things myself and not just read it out of a book. You can go and do it yourself. And that's the real tenuous link, I think, with what I do primarily on this channel, I guess, which is synthesizer stuff, because it's DIY, right? Do it yourself. Go and seek out the primary sources yourself. Go to museums yourself and see the real deals. Go to the real sites of historic events and see it yourself in 3D and gain a perspective of it from the perspective of the people who were there. Anyway, that was just me giving a little love letter to the National Archives. If you want to support me, there's a Patreon link down below, or you can click on the subscribe button. Alright, see you in another one.